And I speaking of COVID, I had COVID. I got COVID
Oh my.
in early January, and had symptoms for just over 2 weeks. Actually, last week was my first week back to work, and zero writing got done. Like
I
three
think
weeks of
that
like
is
nothing.
excusable. I think
And
that's an ironclad excuse.
well, I think so. I think so. I'm glad you concur because I did feel a little guilty that I just didn't get anything done, but I was wiped out. I didn't have energy, and I needed to sleep as much as I could, which I did.
I'm sure an author like Maurice Broaddus, who might be listening, would say, no, if I got COVID, I would find a way to keep going, and you know what, he probably would.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And I figured at some point, most people are going to catch it, and a lot of people don't have severe symptoms. They get pretty mild symptoms, but all four of us caught it. My daughter had symptoms for a day. My wife had symptoms for about 2 days, and I had it for 2 weeks. And their symptoms were super mild, and mine were agony. It was awful. It was awful. I got the full measure. My son, nothing. He no symptoms whatsoever. But I got it, and I don't want to sound like a complainer, but it was like I don't ever remember feeling that sick. I don't ever remember feeling that sick, but
Just
got it.
bedridden. I mean, as much as you're comfortable sharing, this isn't the let's talk about your diseases show with Rob, but
Sure.
it's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
If you could give us kind of your quick rundown of your experience, what kind of symptoms were you having?
Yeah. So um, it was on a Saturday night. I started feeling, achy and like fatigued, and I felt, how it feels when you know like a flu's coming on or a cold is coming on. You start like, oh man, I think I'm gonna need to take tomorrow off or rest tomorrow. I think I'm, coming down with something. So I started feeling that. The next day, which was a Sunday, I felt like I had the flu. And the following day was a Monday, and I worked. Even though I didn't feel great, I felt like I had rested a lot. I'd gotten some of my energy back, so I tried to work and just thought, I just have a bug. My wife had it a couple days ago. My daughter had it. I just thought maybe it was a 24-hour thing going through our family. But Monday afternoon, I lost my sense of taste and smell. And I've never had a flu that did that. And I know that's one of the hallmark symptoms of COVID. So I, told my wife, I think I need to get tested. And anyone who's come over today to our house to visit or do homeschool stuff, you might want to tell them that I probably have COVID. So I went and took a couple days off work, went and got tested. Sure enough, I had it, and the symptoms got more severe. The fever and the aching and the fatigue, and I didn't have a lot of stomach issues. Thankfully, don't want to be crude on your show. I won't go into detail, but I had
Someday I'll do the young adult ninja, and then we can really get into the gross details. But
yeah, we'll take it to PG-13. But one of the really crazy, the worst symptom for me was this eye soreness where it felt like you had a bad migraine, and it felt like there was something clawing into the back of your eyes. They were just throbbing. They felt like there was a lot of pressure, like they were sensitive to the touch. And it was like a 36-hour stint where that was the most painful of all the symptoms, if you will, the most the hardest to deal with. And aspirin and all the stuff that you take to relieve those types of aches and pains, nothing worked. So I didn't sleep for 36 hours. It was really awful. That went away, but the flu and the fever didn't. That lasted, like 10 days really. And that finally died down, thankfully. And then you kind of go into that second phase, which is the respiratory phase. Towards the end of any coronavirus, the last part of it is where you're coughing up a bunch of junk. Your throat gets clogged up, or your sinuses get clogged up, and you have to expel all that. And that's the dangerous part, because that's where a lot of people end up catching pneumonia. The COVID-19 causes the filling of their lungs with fluid, and that's where people die. That's what causes most deaths from COVID. And it affects everyone so differently. Young, healthy 30-year-olds that run marathons would die from COVID because of that second phase. And then, other people in my family who are not marathon runners by any stretch and much older than me just would breeze through that phase. And you just never know how it's going to affect someone. So I was kind of worried about what might happen since none of the rest of my family had any symptoms, but I did. And so I was kind of bracing for impact, but thank the Lord, nothing. I just breezed through it and felt great. Took a few more days off work, rested, and I came back swinging last week, with not just work, but, the writing. And I think we're gearing up either this weekend or next to make the next Kid Ventures video and writing tips for kids video. So I'm back on the horse. But, man, I'll tell you, it ruined my January schedule. I had it all mapped out. I'm going to write every day. I'm going to write this. I'm going to do this marketing. I'm going to plot out this. We're going to do this video on Saturday. I just had every single day of the month. I had it organized and ready to go. And COVID robbed me of like 3 weeks of all of that. So I've got to.
So the headline is "Man Survives COVID, Complains About Disrupted Schedule."
It was very inconvenient, Rob. I'll be honest.
No, it sounds it. Well,
it's the new year. It's like 2020 was awful, and I was bound and determined. 2021, I don't care. COVID, politics. I'm not going to look at any of that. I'm going to do whatever I can control. I'm going to have a good year no matter what. I'm going to do everything I can to stay positive, write more books, and just do the best I can. And I'm determined to have a great year. And then January rolls around, and I'm just knocked on my butt, and all my plans are just tossed out the window. So my year is officially starting this month, February, with this podcast and being a guest. This is officially the start of my 2021.
Well, this is where it's at. I called January 21st the New Year this year. That's okay. Whew, calm down a little bit. Let's get going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
a
sure.
little bit of a Far Side cartoon. Just that story, man makes plans, God laughs. There was a Far Side cartoon where if you want to wash your car, or if you want to make it rain, rather do a dance, and you just get near your car and yell, "I just washed my car," and then the rain will immediately pour.
Exactly.
That's you setting up all of your plans in January, ready to go.
Yep. I was tempting the fates and shouldn't have done that. See, I should have gone into 2021 as a pantser and not a plotter, So.
Well, 3 weeks is 3 weeks. But you're back. You're on this show. That's a good start.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be all nothing but great year from here on, I assume, because why not? If we're wrong, it won't feel better to have been right. So let's assume it's great.
That's right. I'm planning for good things. And I'll do everything I can to make that happen. But the things outside of my control, they're just nothing. It's like anything else. You just have to take it as it comes, learn from it, and start over.
I don't think you could definitively say how to make sure no disruptions ever come and everything goes exactly according to plan forever. We could sell amazing retirement plans because we would know exactly how long everyone was going to live, how much money they needed. It would no problem. But two, this would be the most listened to podcast of all time. We'd be geniuses.
Absolutely.
Which we are, but we're not gods. Just
speak for yourself.